Welcome to another Umbrella Academy video from your pals here at Key Issues, and as we all know, secret rooms are never a good thing to have. After all, they would not be a secret if they were full of stuff that you wanted people to see, right? Reginald Hargreeves, the eccentric billionaire slash businessman slash scientist slash founder of the Umbrella Academy, has quite a nefarious secret room with a ton of interesting items, and this video is going to break down everything that we can find and what they mean. But before we begin, we wanted to remind you that we have a few giveaways going on for this season of the Umbrella Academy, and we're giving away multiple copies of Umbrella Academy Volume 1, and all you have to do to enter is follow us on Twitter. Our personal accounts are pinned in the comments section below, so check it out. Now, let's get back to the topic at hand, Forbidden Rooms of Mystery. Inside of this room, we see a good number of Easter eggs for what we can expect to see in the third season of Umbrella Academy. After all, there were a lot of mysteries left at the end of this season, and we anticipate that Season 3 will continue the streak of following a subsequent miniseries from the comics. Season 1 was of course based off Apocalypse Suite, Season 2 was based off the miniseries Dallas, and Season 3 will probably be based off of Hotel Oblivion. Obviously, with the effects of time travel and the butterfly effect creating a major change in the future, we'll probably see a good bit of divergence from the comic book plot and the show's plot, as they're already pretty different. Anyway, back to the secret room. Hargreeves has emerged this season as one of the most interesting characters in the show. There's a lot the audience doesn't realize right now, and Hargreeves in the comics is just as mysterious as he is in the show. However, I think that the show is doing an excellent job of giving him more character development. Now, for the purposes of this video, there are a few things that you're gonna need to know about Hargreeves, so if you haven't finished the season, consider this your spoiler warning, or if you want to get a leg up on the competition, check out our video on Hargreeves. But we will be giving you some crucial elements in just a second here about his backstory in this video. We already know that Hargreeves is a very eccentric, very wealthy, very peculiar man, but now the audience knows what comic book readers have known for a while. Hargreeves is not of this earth. Hargreeves is actually an alien, and this explains a lot about his demeanor, and it's important to know that before we start discussing the things within this room. So now that we have that out of the way, let's get started. When we first enter the room, we immediately see a globe, except it's not a globe of Earth like, most globes that you see. It's a globe of the moon. There were multiple references to the dark side of the moon this season and Reginald's interests in it. However, if Season 3 plans to follow the third miniseries in the Umbrella Academy, Hotel Oblivion, we'll probably see the dark side of the moon as a location that the team has to travel to in order to visit the hotel. The hotel in the comics acts as a prison for superpowered villains that the Umbrella Academy is faced off with, and there could be a similar facility on the moon in this alternate future of the third season. Also keep in mind that in the first season, when we first see Luther, he's on the moon. Now, we never truly find out what Luther was doing up there, but it's not crazy to think that even in the original timeline, Hargreeves had resources and facilities on the moon dedicated to his worldwide preservation mission, and Luther was in charge of reviewing those and maintaining them. The second and most immediately identifiable item within the room is the logo of a sparrow on the board, and obviously it's not too difficult to arrive at the same conclusion we made here, that this is in some way connected to the Sparrow Academy shown at the end of Season 2, but if you think about it, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Consider the fact that the Sparrow logo is on plans for some type of high-tech schematic, and this item is clearly in some form of development. And we will get back to these schematics in a second, but first, let's discuss why we see the Sparrow logo on these plans. At this point in time, Hargreeves didn't know that superpowered individuals were going to be born in the future, so he probably would not be in the process of recruiting the Sparrow Academy. In fact, I think I have a theory here that might kind of explain why you're seeing this logo now. In the show, Reginald has been tied to the Umbrella name and moniker. It's possible that after meeting his family in the past and his children and subsequently his disappointment in them, he abandons this moniker and he changes everything in his name associated with it. Instead, he rebrands everything as Sparrow. After all, we do know that at this point in time he has multiple companies, ventures, and businesses, so Sparrow could just be another one, much like Umbrella Industries was one for him in this other alternate timeline. Now, let's get back to the schematics that we saw earlier, because the next few pieces all seem to tie into each other, at least as far as our theories go. The schematics that we see on the board are difficult to make out, but they look very similar to the main mode of transportation in the miniseries Hotel Oblivion called the Minerva. The Minerva is a ship that allows the team to travel through afterspace. Now, couple these schematics with the next item we see, and I think we make a pretty compelling case. The next item we see is rocket ship schematics and temperature readings for engines. Now, spaceflight began throughout our world history in 1961. There was a race to get to the moon that lasted until the United States eventually arrived first in 1969 during the Apollo 11 mission. Reginald is no slouch when it comes to interstellar travel as well. We do see an entire sequence where he blasts a younger version of Pogo into outer space. So he is clearly already working on that in this timeline. At least to me, that indicates that Hargreeves was very influential in the US's arrival on the moon. Presumably due to his origins, he would have a vested interest in getting back to space. We also see other shots of what appears to be engines. Not sure if these are rocket ship engines, but it's probably safe to bet considering the temperature readings that are being shown, but it looks like an engine with multiple afterburners at the bottom. It could even be a missile, but I think it's entirely likely that it's a propulsion system from the Minerva that Reginald is designing. Now, we do also see some plans that are difficult to make out. Some of these appear to be large constructs, and the obvious thing that we think here is that these are plans for the Hotel Oblivion. We think that the hotel is probably going to be vastly different in the show from what it looks like in the comic books, so I wouldn't expect to see an exact replica of what it looks like in the comics, which is basically just a giant hotel building. It'll probably look a little bit more futuristic and cool in the show. However, possibly the most exciting item that we see in this room is the schematics and plans for a device called a Televator. We've discussed these items before in other videos, but a Televator is a device from the comics that allows travel through space and time. The schematics themselves say Televator, the next great mode of transportation, and it would be great to finally see one of these in the show, considering that they're very visible in almost every miniseries, and they're very prominent in the miniseries Dallas and Hotel Oblivion. Next up, we have some historical plans and documents related to the assassination of JFK, and there appears to be multiple maps of the surrounding areas, including pictures of other influential political figures around the time. We can see photos of Fidel Castro, who was part of the famed Cuban Missile Crisis that almost ended the real world, as well as the real-world 36th President of the United States, Lyndon B. Johnson, who assumed presidency after JFK was assassinated. Now, we know specifically that Hargreeves did not want JFK to die, despite the fact that the group that he was part of, the Majestic 12, ended up orchestrating and killing him, and I guess that didn't really work out too well for them, considering Hargreeves kills everybody in that group when JFK dies, so I don't think that JFK dying was part of his plan for the future, but he does die, and that's an unfortunate part of reality. And the one last element of this room that was really mysterious and not technically part of the plans or schematics or anything that we see in here, but is certainly worth discussing, is the leaving of Grace, the woman that clearly was in love with Reginald and also the clear inspiration for the character of Mom in the first season. We do find out in season 1 that Mom is a robot that Reginald built in order to take care of the family, and perhaps this is the origin for that. When Grace confronts Reginald about the items in the room, she asks him to confirm that he isn't planning on killing the president. And of course, he does, but there is a lot of incriminating evidence pointing towards the fact that he's at least involved in something shady here. She does decide to leave him, so perhaps it's that Reginald decides instead of trying to find somebody else to love, he would build a robot version of the one woman that he did. And honestly, I hope that's what it is, because anything else would be super dark and twisted, and I really just don't want to imagine that maybe he takes her brain out, puts it into a robot body, and I don't know, it could get really twisted from here. And that is about it for everything that we found. Now, I'm sure there's going to be people who take this footage and break it up and magnify it and enhance it and all this other stuff, and if you do, awesome. Drop us a line on Twitter, let us know what you find, and maybe we can do a second part of this video because that would be really interesting. But for now, this is everything that we found, and we hope you learned a lot from what we told you. Thanks again for watching this video. This has been Nick for Key Issues. We have a ton of Umbrella Academy coming your way during this Season 2 coverage, so remember to like and subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys again for watching. Remember the motto, Umbrella Academy over everything.